Eu intend, I intend to make an explanation about the Portuguese language from a point of view of my own. I don't see what I'm going to say in any book, or I have never heard such approach to the Portuguese language. I don't. I intend to make a reading about Plato, about Christianism, about Aristotle, but I have not made it yet. Then I began talking about Spinoza, and after that I go through Plato, Aristotle, and Christianism. I I don't have an intention to make a complete video now. It's just for me to not forget what I have to do. But I broadcast it on the Facebook just for fun. Anyway, Spinoza has a central idea that is exactly this, a true idea. What he means about that true idea? He begins to talk about a definition. For him, what would be a definition? He talks about that in his preparation to the reading of Ethica. I mean, to the reader to get prepared to understand his book Ethica. Well, he begins to talk about definition and says that definition for him is something different from what is commonly understood. For him, for instance, he begins talking about these examples. For him, a circle is defined not by the points that stay at the same distance from a center. This is for him is not a definition. A definition is given when it tells the reason of production of the idea. Then, when he talks about circle, he says that a circle is rightly defined when we say that a circle is the product of the rotation of a of a segment around a center, like this. His, this is to give the reason of production of the circle. Well, these examples are just the beginning, the preparation of the person to read his book. What he means by that? He means that all his book is to be understood by true ideas. True idea, when we hear of that for the first time, you think of it as a singular idea, like this, the circle produced by a piece of stick around a center. This is a true idea, as a matter of fact. But what he means when he make this presentation of the true idea is to make you understand that all his book is made of true ideas. True ideas. These true ideas, they go beyond the simple and singular idea like this one I told. True ideas are to be articulated, to be expanded, and to apprehend all the world through this kind of idea. Not that you have one idea, two, three, four. Is the essence of the idea, of a true idea, that counts for him. So, you have to apprehend the idea of God, the idea of soul, the idea of corpus, the idea of attribute, the idea of modus, and all his book, all his theory about word. He is a philosopher. Well, this kind of reasoning through the true idea, for me, in my opinion, is the same kind of apprehension that there is in the formation of sentences and the reading of sentence in English. I I think that Portuguese, in comparison to the English language, has three main qualities, concepts, or characteristics that differ Portuguese from English grammar. They are pronomization, sujeitization, and prepositivation. What these three concepts makes and in what relation they are to Portuguese language and to English language. When you look at the pronouns in English, you have the pronoun you, for instance, that does not differ when you look at it written from the you in plural. You is for plural and is for singular. In Portuguese, you have a difference. Ele is for singular and you, you is você is for singular and vocês is for plural. The same thing happens to they. They may be they in plural, they may be no, they sorry. Not today, not today. Doesn't have today happen today. But happens in Portuguese. You have ele in singular and eles in plural. Besides this, for each pronoun in Portuguese, you have a radical that differ from each other through the 6 pronouns. In English, The verbs don't change much, only to the he, she, it, where you put an S at the end. It shows that the pronunciation in Portuguese is much more stronger than in English, to begin with. Now, the sujeitization. What I mean about sujeitization. Sujeitization is when you transfer to the element to a word the power to operate inside the sentence over his object. This power is given to the pronoun, is given to the verb, and it means that a word or the verb or the pronoun operate up over his object from a point of view exterior, over, on the object. But on the contrary, differently. In English, the verb and words, they act over its object by way of a contact, of a transformation, of affectation of its object. When we see that phrase that I call it Jumanji phrase, the verb substitute in English has the power to change the nature of the car into a substitute in relation to the wagon. So you don't have an operation over the object. That happens in Portuguese. Substitute the wagon, not the car. You substitute the wagon for the car, by the car. By the car. You act over the wagon. The verb substitute act over the wagon, not over the car. While in English, the verb affect, essentialize, I like to use this word, essentialize the nature of the car into a substitute. After having done that, the substitute occupies the place of the wagon. So it is a kind of referendum, a kind of relation to the wagon, not an operation right over the car, over the wagon. This is a difference. The other one is prepositivation. Prepositivation in Portuguese is to put the prepositions right and in the due place and specifically related to the action that is being done. So, in Portuguese, the same phrase, Jumanji phrase, the preposition for that there is in English does not exist in Portuguese. Although, when we translate the sentence to Portuguese, you think as if it were the same preposition. But in Portuguese we say the progress substituted the wagon pelo. Pelo. Preposition is pelo, which cannot be translated to for. For would mean more para in a relation of referential relation, not in an operation action. You can almost say that this operation in Portuguese of substitution makes a physical change. Although in English it's also the same idea, but the affection is the kind of action that substitute do on the car. And in Portuguese, the main idea is the operation over an object for putting another one in his place. So, when we construct a phrase in Portuguese, you have to worry about the exact combination of the pieces, the radicals, the prepositions, the plurals, everything has a specific suffix or prefix that have to correlate it to each other, or the phrase will be wrong. In English, you have this that I said, an idea. In English, you hate the phrase. You choose the words and where you put them, but it's more a rating than a construction, as in Portuguese. This is the difference between Portuguese and English. When I say the progress substituted the car for the wagon, there is a way of rating the words that is different when I say o progresso substituiu a carroça pelo carro. Carroça is wagon, carro, car. See, the order of the words are completely different, and the reasoning is completely different. Well, as I have said on the last video, this true idea that Spinoza thinks of is what he reasons when he talks about the world. And this rating of the word, of the phrase that I have talked, is to make a true idea, is to construct a true idea. That's why when in English, when you look at, you have the phrase, you hate the words. You have the right idea that the phrase is right. In Portuguese, you don't have this way of construction, the phrase. But to explain the Portuguese phrase to an English speaker by the way of true idea, which is possible, I have to talk about these characteristics of the language, of the Portuguese language. The Portuguese language is characterized by a linearity where the words must be articulated through these prepositions, suffixes, prefixes, time, uh, conjugations of the verbs which must be specific to each pronoun. There are 6, one for each pronoun. You may say, oh, Portuguese is too confused. Maybe you think that, but you get if you memorize the suffixes of the verbs, we'll see that they are specific for each pronoun. In English, for instance, the verb to be, which there are many words like are, you are, they are, we are, is repeated. There is no variation. Em português, eu sou, tu és, ele é, nós somos, vós sois, eles são. There are 6 different words, one for each pronoun. What doesn't happen in English. That's what I call pronunciation. And the pronunciation is related to this articulation. In this articulation is made by operations, where you see, for instance, the verb substitute make an operation of change. It acts over the object. And in English, the verb substitute affects the car, affects the object as a substituted. And then the substituted is related to the wagon. In Portuguese, the verb substitute operates over the object, which is not the car, is the wagon. It operates with the wagon, taking it out and putting in his place the car. There is an operation, a completely and total operation, which must be expressed exactly as it is when it is written. And you have to change the position of the wagon to the car. This is making the true idea, which is Spinozist. It is to make the true idea of a translation from Portuguese to English. I don't know if I made myself clear, but the reason is this. I'll try to make it more clear in the future. For now, this is it. Good night.